2, 3, 4. In this podcast, you will hear Knights of Vader. Knights of Vader includes, but is not limited to, talk of Star Wars, not ray guns. We can't truly prepare you for the jump that follows this song, but hey, we gave it a try. So here's the Knights of Vader. Crystal Fox report they are divided. Prequel, sequel, canon, love they fighted. I know that we are just musicians tired, and their time is up. So here's the Knights of Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
A big thank you to An Inspiriority Complex for providing our theme song. It is January 19th, 2020. My name is Zach Weber, and I am joined by professional podcast host, Zenger.
So I found the other day at Walmart a Revenge of the Jedi poster, and I feel like that's ruining my childhood because, like, if you were able to get one of those, like, back in the day, you were the coolest person. Now you just walk into Walmart and buy them, and I feel like that's robbing, like, the cool people of some awesome stuff.
That's actually weird now that you mention it. The idea of selling a mass-produced reprint of something that's meant to be super exclusive.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, like, any like poster collector could spot that from a mile away. But it's just the idea, like, that's so... is there another example of that? Like, you can think of for, like, pop culture where you would have, like, it's not misprint. Misprint's not the right word. But kind of like something that came out before, like, stuff was official, or...
did they do a movie poster for that one movie that they reshot that had, what's his name in it?
You have to be a little more specific.
Oh, God, the one guy from House of Cards.
Oh, Kevin Spacey?
Yeah, the one that they, like, completely reshot all of his scenes with somebody else. Like a poster with him on the cover of it.
That's a completely... I
mean, it's a different situation, but it's still something to where, like...
But I remember that movie. That was all the money in the world. That was, like, the Getty fortune and all that movie. Yeah, like that's a weird. Yes, that's a.
By the way, people, example. This is not the topic for today. I just remembered that as we started the record.
No, but that's a interesting point you bring up, though. Because I'm trying, as somebody who collects posters, I'm trying to think of another example like that. And the only thing I could think of was I know when they switched the release date for Avengers: Infinity War from like the first weekend of May to the last weekend of April, and all the posters for the teaser posters had to be switched. And I guess I know if you have an Avengers Infinity War teaser poster that says April, I know that's infinitely rarer than the ones that say May, because I have one that says May. So I don't think they usually don't mass produce teaser posters like the kind that you would find at like a Walmart or a Target. But I honestly can't think of another example like that in movie posters where something that was recalled would then, like, almost 40 years later be mass produced to that sort of level. But that's Star Wars for you.
It is. On that note, the greatest movie poster, in my opinion, which I probably should order one because I'm like, why don't I already own this, is the Evil Dead 2 movie poster.
The skull, right?
Yes, the skull one. That is the greatest movie poster, in my opinion. It's simple, it's awesome, and it's super cool.
That's not even the movie.
It isn't, and that's the best part. It's super cool. Also, we all know that's not Bruce, like a done up of Bruce Campbell's skull, because that chin is not big enough.
This week we are concluding the Colin Madman Trevorrow's episode 9 discussion.
Last week, the biggest tangent.
Indeed, the best kind of tangent. A person that should not be allowed near a director's camera is making films.
You know what, Zach? Thinking about it, I may have made the most poignant point at the beginning of this by pointing out that Revenge of the Jedi poster, because that's a title that never got put in a movie, and this is a movie that never got to be a movie.
There you go. But it did get to be a track listing on the Phantom Menace soundtrack.
On the Phantom Menace? You mean on the Rise of Skywalker?
No, okay. Last week we talked about this, and I'm not sure if it's in the article that I shared with Zenger, but Colin Trevorrow's episode 9 was going to be titled Duel of the Fates.
Oh, no, I figured that. But I thought there was also a track in the Rise of Skywalker that was Duel of the Fates, too.
No, that's Phantom Menace.
Okay. I thought they reused it again. So.
Oh, did they?
My
Okay,
bad.
no.
I thought they
not.
did. So that is my mistake.
Oh, what a novice! Get out of here, you novice! You
God.
filthy casual.
Oh, I'm so casual. I'm so
casual.
I'm wearing jeans on Friday at work.
But no. So last week, Rob and I talked about the one script from Colin Trevorrow's episode 9. This week we are talking about the one that's from. Actually, I don't even know. Okay, this is from MakingStarWars.net from Jason Ward. I think Jason Ward claims that this script is the one that was the latest draft. It's the final draft. The one that's covered by Robert Meyer Burnett, which we covered last week, was an earlier draft that I think we said numerous times was written sometime in December of 2016, or at least it was finalized in December of 2016. So just for reference, this episode, we're discussing a script that came out months after that. Before we get into this, have we talked to you since you saw Rise of Skywalker for a second time?
No, we did.
Oh, we did. Okay. Oh, yeah, with Chris. Yeah, with Chris.
Yeah.
Yes. Have you seen it again since then?
Is this a competition thing?
No. Oh, no. No. If you want that, go listen to mine. Okay. Go ahead, Zenger. Plug it. Plug them.
Oh, you mean friend of the show, John Justice? My Nerd World, author of Embark, and the soon to be released, not Treasure in Darkness. That was the second one, The Vanishing War. Also, check him out on the January 23rd episode of ZengThis, episode 184, where there is a full episode interview with him as well, where you might get some answers to why I always do this whenever his name comes up.
Yes, but I do want to point out there is a chink in the armor of Zenger's intro to Mr. Justice. It's no longer just my Nerd World Zenger. It's now positively Star Wars.
And actually, if you listen to the interview, it is explained by the man himself on why that is.
Yes, so we have to add that now to the list of ways we introduce him. We now have another 3 words to add.
Yes.
It rolls off the tongue so easily.
It rolls off the tongue so easily.
If we're going to have a contest about who's seen The Rise of Skywalker, every week I listen to John.
He was in the double digits when I recorded with him, and that was, I think, a week ago.
I know. Every week I listen, it keeps going up higher. Like, after a while, we're going to read on the news, like, local man arrested in theater for refusing to leave Rise of Skywalker showing. It's like, oh, no, John, the Blu-ray's coming out in a couple of days. It's all right. But no, John knows where we're just teasing him in good fun. But no, John's got me beat easily by, I'd say, what, triple?
I think he's at 10. So he's 5 times more than me.
My overall point was, any difference of opinion on the film since we last talked about it, or anything that stands out?
There is something that crossed my mind. I have not gotten a chance to talk about it since it crossed my mind. Is I always was saying I think that the term Skywalker will replace Jedi. I think that was going to be the new thing, and it never was. I don't think that's what the case is, but I'm wondering if her taking the name Skywalker was sort of an homage to that. That's like she's taking it to carry on that legacy more of than the Ben Solo thing.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
That, like, because the two people that appeared.
The last part, I understood the first part of that about like continuing on like the legacy of like the Jedi, but just kind of what's the word, rebranding it as Skywalker.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that second part? Like where
I guess that's why people assume that she took Ben. Like, but then why didn't she go by? I don't know. That whole scene is confusing. It needs at least some vague explanation to it. I feel. Yeah. Because I feel like since we only see the two of them that are Skywalkers, that's why she refers to herself as Skywalker, to carry on the legacy of, the Force users that trained her.
I promise we will get to the Colin, Madman, Trevorrow stuff, but I had a theory.
We need to keep talking about stuff that we can't prove indefinitely. Or hold on, wait, let me check if some YouTube channel has had Disney confirms why she said Skywalker.
That probably exists. That probably exists. But I had a theory. I haven't seen it anywhere else. Is that I know in our initial Rise of Skywalker review, I kind of had the idea or the theory that when we do have like episode 10, and Zenger, do you agree with the notion that at least in the next 10 to 15 years we will get episode 10? Do you feel that's coming at some point? I'm not saying immediate, but I mean like at least 10 years from now.
I mean, that they'd have to scrape through the bottom of the barrel, I think, because they made a huge point of that this is it.
Well, okay.
They aren't doing episodic.
Well, Revenge of the Sith was the last film, and Return of the Jedi was the last film. Every film was the last film.
You know what wasn't the last film? Solo.
I don't know the way Disney's looking at Star Wars, they probably wish it would have. But no, so I have this theory that when Ben Solo transfers his life essence into Rey, and it's the specific hand placement on Rey's like lower torso. And I was thinking like, okay, could she be carrying his child or something like that? And I thought, okay, I read some stuff on Twitter. Someone's like, oh, Rey's the one who initiates the kiss with him. So there's no way that Ben would impregnate her without her consent. And I'm not looking at it that way. What I'm about to say, but I had the idea of going back to the Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon Jinn is talking to Shmi Skywalker and goes, "Who was the father?" And she goes, "There was no father." Who's to say that at some point in Shmi Skywalker's life, she had an interaction with some very powerful Force user? That maybe something happened, again, that there's nothing to base this on, this is my own conjecture, that maybe that's how she became pregnant with Anakin. This is an idea. I'm just putting that out there, and that's another. And guess what? When we do get in my opinion, the inevitable episode 10, that's how they connect it back, and it's that Rey has now. They are Skywalkers because through any sort of just Star Wars gobbledygook, the nonsense they can explain away with some lines of dialogue. It's just the notion of maybe that's how Anakin was conceived that way. I'm just nothing to base that off of. Just saying that makes sense considering that Shmi does say that line of like, there was no father. It was just kind of, he was there one day.
The problem is I'm having trouble with this because you actually have put enough logic behind it that me poking a hole in it is something I really can't do.
It's just an idea. I'm not married to
it's a good one. It's better than, going off on a tangent about the ancient Sith prophecy about Mace Windu.
What?
I'm just saying. I mean, that's a more interesting topic than the lightsaber crystal Yoda said should never have been used.
How many views do these videos have?
You don't want to know.
More than Knights of Vader has his entire lifetime of existing.
More than we'll ever have in just one of them.
Real quick, I want to give a special shout out. I know last week I spent, like 20 minutes to a half an hour on a rant about Mr. Dillywood and his nasty review of me and the podcast. But actually, within the last couple hours, we received a comment review on Podbean from Mr. Normock, saying, "Great podcast. The host of the show brings such an amazing mix of fact and humor to the world of Star Wars. Zach has such a wealth of knowledge on both the inside track and of Disney now in general. I only wish we could get more than one a week. I know you guys have other podcasts and things going on. How much I do love you here." So, Mr. Normock, thank you very much for
thank you for that.
Yes, much like the Force itself, with rising darkness, there is equal light to match it. So, much obliged to all of you, not just Mr. Normock. I know we have a bunch of reviews, and to everybody at the Facebook group, Instagram, the couple people that follow me on Twitter, that shoot us emails, especially you guys. I love you guys. Never stop emailing me. Is appreciated. So, Zenger, with all that being said, are we ready to talk about Episode 9? The Duel of the Fates?
I am excited to do this. This is the most confusing thing, and I actually did fully read this a day ago and was prepped to talk about this the other day, and sadly I got my dates mixed up. But I'm still ready today, so Zach actually has a fully prepared Zenger for once.
Whoa. This is kind of like the equivalent of a solar eclipse, folks. You better put your special goggles on because...
Don't look directly into what I'm about to tell people.
For more reasons than one. So, no, going back to Making Star Wars, the title of this article is I Read Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly's final Star Wars Episode 9 script. Once again, this is from Making Star Wars. We'll link to it in the show notes. It should be pointed out that I know on Twitter, Jason Ward had a couple... he kind of prefaced it with like apologize on some of the poor grammar and spelling errors. So we're going to kind of stumble through this because a lot of when you read this, it comes across as the ramblings of a serial killer. So we're going to do our best to kind of connect dots for you.
I read that. I read it with everything like, nope, he meant it this way. So that may be why I'm very confused and also writing a manifesto.
Sure. But the other thing, too, is that much like what Rob and I said last week, and the same goes for here as well, is that we are reading somebody else's interpretation of a script. A lot of things can change between script to final product if this film ever was the one to be made instead of the one we got in the last month or so. So if we do judge it, it's not entirely fair. And at the same time, though, many things can be lost in translation. But when it comes to something like this, you just kind of have to just take what information you can. You take the information you can get and just run with it. So we're not being harsh. We're just calling it as we see it. Right, Zenger?
Right. Also, I would like to point out just ahead of time real quick that I do enjoy Rise of Skywalker. I enjoyed the movie. All my jokes made at the expense of that movie or this script are made purely in the sense of humor. And the only reason I'm doing it is because I don't want someone to take my stuff out of context. Like you can take something like why Qui-Gon Jinn can't appear as a Force ghost, canon explanation. I just need to click away from this.
I think you have to put some like blocks on, like download one of those like browser extensions that like blocks the word Star Wars.
You really should, because just some of these videos. Anyways, I know I'm going to make some wisecracks. I just want everyone to know it's in good humor. I know it's assumed, but just in case it's not obvious.
Yes. All right. So as we delve in, Jason Ward has all these plot points broken down by like number. I think it goes from all the way from starting at 1.
Oh no, there's bullet points too. They're the differences.
Well, I'm not getting into those. We're not going.
I read all of them. Okay, going down now.
Yes, 1 to 95. So first is, and I guess we'll read these and then we'll stop and take breaks and we want to comment on them.
Yes.
All right, cool beans. Much like last week. Number 1, The Crawl. The First Order is everywhere. Kylo Ren is on a quest to dig up ancient dark side stuff, and the Knights of Ren search for Rey. The Resistance plan a secret mission to light the fire to light the fire of revolution. Okay, this is gonna be harder than I thought it was. All right.
Was this written by Saddam?
It's we might have revealed who Saddam actually is. All right. Number 2, basic plot. The transmission has been jammed and the Resistance can't communicate. Once the Friends steal a cache of weapons from the First Order, they prepare to attack the capital of the First Order once Rey goes to the Jedi Spire of Ossus and sends a message out to the galaxy to join them in the fight. Kylo Ren is trying to kill Rey so he can finally be fully on the dark side. The film opens on a First Order space station around Kuat. BB-8 is undercover on a mission with Rose. They are working at disabling a security checkpoint for their friends to arrive. There's an orbital ring that looms in the sky that destroyers dock into like spikes on a punk bracelet.
Okay. So is this an orbital ring around the planet or is it just a ring out in space? Because either way, that'd be cool to see. That's something I don't think we've... it's kind of in the Star Wars Battlefront 2. There's a map.
Yeah, Fondor.
Yeah, that has one. But there's also like the shipyards that are actually mentioned a few times in different media, and it was supposed to be a ring around the center of the planet. where that's how they built Star Destroyers and the Super Star Destroyers. And it's something we never got to see. And I'm like, that would be awesome to see as just this, like, once again, to see Star Destroyers doing non-space stuff. I think it would be very cool to see, like, them being built and everything, even if it is First Order ones.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting idea. It's certainly different in the sense of its visuals we've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
I know last week Rob and I talked about Kuat. It's one of those things where it's for hardcore fans. It would be an easy thing to go to. But my thing is, I don't know how the filthy casuals respond to it. That feels like it's interesting in the sense of like seeing it from a distance. It kind of is reminiscent of the Shield Gate in Rogue One. That fight, it's not even a fair apples to apples comparison, but it's the idea of it's interesting as a concept to Star Wars nerds. But when you watch it in Rogue One, it's just a bunch of fighters just shooting stuff into a barrier. It's one of those things where I don't know. You probably get one or two good establishing shots of it, but I don't know how dynamic it's going to be because what's described later in the outline is that it's mostly just interiors of our gang of heroes trying to blow it up or damage it. So you're not really having any sort of space battle around it until maybe the final part of the sequence. Feels like it'd be a bunch of just people running around corridors outside of those few establishing shots.
And according to this, Kuat and Fondor were two of them that are listed.
Sure. Yeah, sounds about right.
I thought there was another one for some reason, but
it probably is. I wouldn't be. I know Kuat's been the maker of starships forever, or more capital ships.
I feel like Fondor is coming to mind, but I'm like, that's probably from something completely different.
Fondor was really showed up, I think, for the first time in Battlefront 2.
Yeah. But yeah, I swear there is one where it is like imagine Saturn's ring, but it's making Star Destroyer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a cool visual. It's just I feel like after a while, it's like where do you like unless you have that space battle component
or that scale of just the opening scene of seeing it.
Yeah, I feel like after that, it's like, oh, this is really neat looking. You don't get that sort of like visual flair, like the opening of the Rise of Skywalker, where you have like, okay, they're in the giant ice palace city and they're flying through the different caverns. Then we go light speed skipping across all these different worlds. It's a very static environment.
Yeah, because I mean, you would assume there'd be a lot of ships moving around, stuff like that, if you wanted to make it feel lived in and everything. Which just seems like your budget's going through the roof.
Yeah, I think it's funny you mentioned that. Last week I said, like, it seems like a very expensive opening sequence.
Yeah.
All right, continuing on. On the Kuat moon, Finn is disguised as an alien worker who is under the reign of First Order stormtroopers. But when he's getting found out, a rogue Poe comes to assist him as they wait for BB-8 to disable the weapons checkpoint. After a close call, they get through. Rose has been waiting for them for 6 weeks when Finn and Poe arrive. She tells them her plan. Oh, God, this is going to be hard to read. She tells them her plan on how to detonate a chain reaction that will destroy the orbital ring, which will include the fleet of new destroyers. Rose wants to take out the enemy's fuel source and be light years away before they know they've been hit. Their plan uses BB-8 and they have obstacles, but the bomb goes off early. They're trapped, about to be killed by the troopers, when Rey shows up with a double-bladed lightsaber and saves them. They didn't know she was following them.
We cheer then?
I guess. I guess she kind of... Yeah. The double-bladed lightsaber, why not? I have no problem with that.
But doesn't have an interesting design to it, which we will get to in a minute.
Yes, we will. Rey sees the migrant uprising and wants to help with her force powers, but Poe, Finn, and Rose want her to go with them and follow their plan. She ignores them and goes to help the migrants, but the TIE fighters blast at them. Rey has to give up what she wants to do, save the migrants, and escape with her friends for the future good of the galaxy. There's an idea that the migrants and kids see that Rey is a Jedi and are reverent of her and the Fallen Order.
It seems like it's kind of playing off of the whole, like, Rey's the new symbol of hope. and everything. Kind of like they did in Last Jedi, where like the Force is something that's there, and that the spark of rebellion throughout the galaxy. If I remember correctly, that's totally abandoned in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, it's abandoned even in these drafts too. It seems like what the ending of The Last Jedi with all of Luke's thing is more or less kind of just ignored.
Yeah.
Which is, again, they can do whatever they want. It's a little disappointing, but it's, yeah, I think that's the easiest way to say it. The idea of her wanting to help a bunch of people and her friends don't want her to because they feel like she's too important. That kind of runs contradictory to everything we know about Finn, Poe, and Rose.
It's not the Jedi way.
That's what I mean, though. Is that like it seems like in every other moment in Star Wars, they always are willing to help people, especially Rose. After like helping the Fafirs on Canto Bight, for them to kind of just tell her to walk away from people in need, that seems odd. Or out of character, I guess is the right word or phrase.
For multiple characters.
Yeah. Moving on, the friends decide to escape on a Star Destroyer. Poe can fly anything. To get there, they have a ride to Turbo Lift, which is made for droids. The G-Force almost crushes their bodies. On the fueling dock, they take a glide rover to the Eclipse Destroyer. Admiral Vaughn realizes they are getting on an empty destroyer.
Okay, there's a few things to unpack here that I just want to talk about real quick. I feel the Poe can fly anything was like directly lifted from like him saying that in the scene.
Probably.
And the turbo lift of them like getting smacked against the wall would just be once again another amusing. Once again, do we need humor in Star Wars? But this would be just them getting like, wait, this is only for droids, and then them getting slammed against the wall as it goes up. Yeah. But they're in space. Why is gravity? But the mention of the fact that it is referred to as the Eclipse Destroyer is very, very interesting because that is Palpatine's like personal Superstar Destroyer in canon.
But the weird thing,
and in Legends, it's a freaking weird, like giant, like piece of cheese flying through space.
Yeah, but like we mentioned that last week too. But the one thing I didn't bring up is it wouldn't be the one that you're thinking of. It would be like a First Order version of that.
It would be, and that makes me sad.
But that's the weird thing, though, is that like if you are going to do an Eclipse Star Destroyer, you're doing it in a way that it's not, at the end of the day, really an Eclipse Star Destroyer. Because think about it, the First Order Star Destroyers are definitively different from the Imperial ones.
They look dumb.
But so I don't know what, like, when they say Eclipse style, I feel like that's just there as like, because I would imagine even in the film itself, if they made this, they wouldn't be saying, oh, there goes that Eclipse Star Destroyer. It would just be kind of something that would be referenced in like ancillary media, like the visual dictionary, the art of book. It feels like instead of just calling it like in like the Last Jedi, you had the First Order Dreadnought. They could have very easily called that ship a First Order Eclipse Star Destroyer. And at the same day,
that's an Eclipse class Star Destroyer.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, you're just kind of it can't be the same thing based on the difference of designs. So you're only calling it that because fans will recognize that. And
you want to know what else the Eclipse Star Destroyer could do in Legends?
Blow up planets?
Yes, it could. That's a laser on that could do that.
Well, come on. There's a reason why Madman, Trevorrow, and Connolly got their names in the credits for The Rise of Skywalker. JJ definitely pulled from their scripts. It's pretty obvious.
Yes.
Rey uses the Force to get the crewmen on the destroyer to take them to the Neuronian system. They barely get out of the docking station as Poe is struggling to fly the Dreadnought. BB-8 has to get to them on his maintenance shuttle. Rey wants them to go to light speed, but it's risky, yet they pull it off.
Did I miss who Admiral Vaughn is? Is that just a new character for this?
Just the First Order Admiral.
Okay.
that we've never seen before.
I want to make sure, because there's a few names that pop up in this that I'm like, is this something I'm supposed to know about?
There's a lot of that as we go forward. There's a lot of character names.
Yeah, there's a lot more. And speaking of characters we want to know more about,
Knife 9 is a ship belonging to the Knights of Ren. We are introduced to the Knights with names and everything. Admiral Vaughn gives them an update, but they are placed a location cipher on BB-8 so they can track Rey. Then Vaughn is killed by them.
I just imagine they're introduced, and it's like they all like, whirl their weapons and stuff as each of them is said, name is spoken and everything, and they just kill the guy.
Hi, I'm Admiral Vaughn. That's a funny way to spell dead. I didn't say dead, thwack. Yeah, it's goofy. Now we get to on Remicor, which, like Rob said last week, is spelled differently every single time it's referenced in this article. We meet an 11-year-old Dade. He is a street-worn and alone amidst the First Order that patrols the First Order capital. Chancellor Hux looks down the city. He tells Lord Gurlid, a disgusted alien, that the resistance is almost vanquished. But the alien believes the youth are on the verge of revolt.
Once again, that theme of revolt pops up. Also, I know this was mentioned earlier, but Hux is in this, not a spy, just a total, lunatic as usual.
Chancellor.
Sure. Just put whatever title you want in front of it. By the way, you will refer to me as Lord Zenger on this podcast from now on.
Okay.
That's how that works.
Someone needs to go to a fan convention where Dom Hall Gleason is at and ask him to say the line, "I'm the Chancellor," just like how he says the line, "I'm the spy" in the Rise of Skywalker.
Perfect.
Someone needs to do that. If you do, please comment down below. All right. The aliens talk about how they want the last hope of the Jedi, Rey, to be killed. A Darth Maul-like character, Solony Wren. With Kylo gone, Hux and the others have to listen to Solony Wren.
Who's Solony Wren? Why is Solony Wren important? Do they matter? Why are we going back to Maul-like people? We already have 2 of them that are ignored.
Because last week Rob and I talked about a Darth Maul-esque droid accompanying Kylo Ren somewhere, and we kind of didn't know what that meant. And considering that this script came later after the one we discussed last week, could this character possibly be like are we talking about an organic creature or maybe a robot character or a droid character?
Okay. So when it says a Darth Maul-like character, are we assuming something from that same species? Or are we assuming someone that stands there hooded, like, just keeps repeating, what is the line? We reveal ourselves to the Jedi. We will have our revenge.
It seems like a character that's just kind of like a first lieutenant that's just there for a bat. It's like we need a character for an action sequence beat, but we don't have anybody for our protagonist to fight. Well, we'll write a new character, Solony Wren. And it feels like a character that's just being grafted on for the sake of an action sequence, which I think comes later in the film.
Yep, it does.
So, yes, we have Solony Wren, who I guess is the de facto leader when Kylo's not around. Sure, okay. There's going to be a lot in this episode, folks. A lot of the use of the word sure in that exact tone. All right, next. Kylo travels to Moraband to a Sith temple with ancient statues. Snoke has him follow a message to find the hologram of Darth Plagueis.
So is Snoke alive?
No, I think it's probably a message. Probably some sort of instructions and death.
I'm like, why is he still following Snoke unless this is something Snoke wanted him to do before he killed him? Get a flashback in there.
Maybe. Luke shows up as a ghost to tell Kylo that this is the path to an empty hollow tomb, but he doesn't listening. Opening the holocron, red force lightning attacks Kylo and the damage spreads across his face.
Oh, wait, that is he doesn't listen. I thought you said he doesn't listening. And I was like, I wasn't.
Oh, sorry.
No. I assumed from the writing of some of this that was what it said.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, Kylo Ren doesn't listen. Okay. Luke shows up as a ghost to tell Kylo that this is the path to an empty hollow tomb, but he doesn't listen. Opening the holocron, red force lightning attacks Kylo, and the damage spreads across his face.
So should I pull off this reveal this now? It's a lot of force lightning that's different colors in this whole thing, and I feel like there's meaning behind that, but I don't think this ever explains it.
Well, we don't know. Again, like I said, we're reading somebody else's abridged version of probably at least 120-page script. Rey has a dream that connects her to Kylo. Finn talks to her about it. She's worried she's not strong enough, but the children, everyone believes in her. Poe's going to park the destroyer on a moon. Rose is dubious.
Of him parking it?
I guess.
Okay.
Poe finds weaponry on the ship, enough TIE fighters, walkers to take over the capital.
Sorry. A little closer. I think you got it.
I like to imagine it's the thing from SpongeBob when they're on the Flying Dutchman.
Yes, exactly.
like behind the rocks. You're good. You're good.
As pieces of stuff are flying everywhere.
I guess I'll be all right, Captain. We can buff out those scratches. As it's just like a shell of the ship.
TIE fighters are floating away. Like one of the engines is popping off.
Oh God!
And I'll buff out.
Like imagine like the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean where it's like sunken into the ground.
Perfect.
Rose like peeks her head out like one of the windows and she like leans back in and Poe is like, hey, at least we're flying half a ship.
Now we can fly a moon.
All right. Poe, okay, they call back to the base, but Leia tells them they're under attack and they lose contact. All the bases are seemingly being attacked and they can't get in contact with anyone. Rey tells them they have to go back to the base. They have no choice. Kylo is on the verge of death when a group of Wommels.
I'm assuming that this will be explained thoroughly later on.
Sure. They save him and take him to their cave. He's moved by their selflessness.
Yeah, Kylo's beats in this story don't make sense, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Poe, Finn, Rey, and Rose's stolen TIE shuttle arrives from Lightspeed to a battle on Korolev, where they find the last of the Resistance in C-3PO. Their friends put Leia on the Falcon.
So C-3PO is not part of the Resistance.
The friends put Leia on the Falcon and they blow up the base as they leave, but not before a TIE crashes into a tower and destruction hits. Chewie barely gets Leia on board. Leia dies.
C-3PO.
Leia dies after she gives Rey a message. She fades away into the Force.
Not really.
You know what I think? You know what's so weird about this beat though is that it's so like reminiscent of what we just went through in The Last Jedi. Like, think about it. In that film, we have to escape from our base because the bad guys know where we are.
Yeah.
Yet, in the first like third of this movie, we already have another one of those. Like, oh crap, the bad guys know where we are.
Also, another infiltration mission too.
Yeah. Well, that
with Rose and BB-8.
That I get because it feels very similar to like the opening of Return of the Jedi.
That is true.
That's something
again, we're going back to why don't we just go fish at that well that has nothing left in it but the same thing we catch every day.
Well, see, it's like
why that
poetry.
terminology worked.
It's like poetry it rhymes thing.
Because even incestuous Star Wars bothers me sometimes.
Yeah, but like even in the Rise of Skywalker, you gotta give them some credit because yes, we do have the moment where all of our heroes go on a little quest to like unravel the mysteries of the film, but at least JJ bypassed the opening of like, oh, we have to rescue somebody or rescue something. Like, yes, they get the stolen they get the message from the Resistance spy, but at least that doesn't feel anything like we have to rescue Han from Jabba's palace or we have to rescue the Chancellor from Grievous's flagship.
Oh yes.
So you gotta give some credit. Like that's one thing that is refreshing about the Rise of Skywalkers. It doesn't open with that like first act of the final film in the trilogy of like, oh, we have to rescue someone from a locale.
True.
in the cave, Kylo can feel that his mother passed away. The Wombles are so kind that they calm his rage. Okay. Meanwhile, on the Falcon, they are hit by blasts. They try to get out of there. It's the Knife 9 ship with the Knights of Ren. Poe pushes the Falcon hard, and when they go to warp speed, they leave a trail of fire behind them. I think it's pretty obvious how the Rise of Skywalker was influenced from that.
Just still imagine the Knife 9 when they're in the ship, they're all just standing there. Like, just in the ship, just standing there posing. Like, there's no chairs, it's just them standing there, and it just keeps cutting back to them, just staring.
It's kind of like the bounty hunter scene in Empire Strikes Back. They just stand there.
Yeah. Actually, I'd like to point out the Knights of Ren have been more of a part of this story than they were in the entirety of the trilogy that we got.
Well, I don't know about that, though, because like, if you were to break down the Rise of Skywalker...
They were named. They were named and killed somebody. Name one thing they did in the actual trilogy.
But I think when they say that they were named, I think it's the same way they were named in the actual film Rise of Skywalker. They are named. Like they're named as the Knights of Ren. They're not named like, okay, here's Billy Joe Ren, here's Bobby Drake Ren, here's Billy Joe Bobby Frank Ren. I think it's the idea that they're the same way in the Rise of Skywalker. I mean, like where it's like you have the two stormtroopers and they turn around and they're like, that's the Knights of Ren. Like I think that's what they mean. I don't think they're. Why would they be highlighted like on individual level? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it does, because then they tell somebody who they are, and then that's why they killed the guy. Because no one can know their actual names, and they say that at the end. And the guy's like, "What?"
Yeah, I think the Knights of Ren were never going to be a big presence in Episode 9 because there's nothing there. Like, how could you use the Knights of Ren in Episode 9? In any sort of meaningful way without automatically being like, okay, they're just derivative of the Praetorian Guard.
Yeah, I mean, they are. You could technically just put the Praetorian Guard in place of them, and it changes the movie in no way, shape, or form.
I know. Except people would have been mad because they like just the idea of a bunch of like space derelicts. Again, the Knights of Ren are a cool visual. They're not meant to do anything of substance. That's the catch-22. They kind of fall under the same.
My
umbrella.
God, they made a ton of Boba Fett's.
Well, exactly. They're like Boba Fett. Like Knights of Ren are in the same camp as Boba Fett and Captain Phasma. They're cool to look at from a distance, but the closer you get to them, you ruin them.
My God, I'm unwrapping everything in this episode.
I know. We're deconstructing the entire sequel trilogy. See, folks, in a couple, God, Zenger, we could technically do it at the end of this year. We could do our Fixing the Force Awakens episode.
Yes. As we know, I have perfectly fixed episode 2. Instead of watching episode 2, just go listen to that episode that we did instead. It fixes it perfectly. There are no problems whatsoever.
Zenger, we didn't just fix episode 2. We fixed the entire prequel trilogy.
We did. I need to go back and listen to that and pat myself on the back.
All right. Going back to the leaks, the Falcon crash lands in a frozen ocean. The group deals with rising waters as they sink in the ship and try to survive.
So I'm assuming the ship has holes in it?
Who knows? Maybe enough water just get over top of it.
Because it should work. It's for space. How does it?
But it's the same plot. If the plot requires it to sink, it doesn't matter what happened to it. Rey goes back to say the Jedi text in the drowning Falcon. She uses her blue saber to break through a wall with Finn as they survive.
Well, that's how water's getting in.
There you go. See, it's kind of like that one person with the porthole open on the Titanic. It's all your fault at the end of the day. At Remdakor, Kylo is in much worse shape, relying on droids to keep him alive. Purple scars and burns. Solony Wren sees that Kylo found it. Their MacGuffin, quote-unquote, the Sith holocron. Solony Wren, female, just now we're being told that she's female, tells Kylo that since he and Rey are both pupils of Luke, he needs to sever this connection to clear his fate to the dark side. Kylo gets a new, more savage mask closer to Vader's.
Well, that's kind of what I think they've been implying with all this, is that he's messed up and he's slowly becoming more Vader-like.
Yeah.
In the sense of, like, his body's becoming broken and he's not, like, letting go of his anger.
Sure. Yeah, I know what you're getting at. One thing I want to ask you, Zenger, in both this and the previous script, holocrons are the primary MacGuffins. What theories do you have as to why in the actual Rise of Skywalker film they chose to use the term Wayfinder over holocron, despite the fact that holocrons and Wayfinders visually are almost identical to one another?
Well, here's the thing. A Wayfinder could be a type of holocron. I mean, that's kind of what I want. Because I'm like, that is a holocron. There's no two ways about it. Like, the way it looks, everything about it, it's a holocron. But the whole, like, oh, it's a Wayfinder, I'm like, okay, so maybe that's just a type of holocron?
They might just call it a holocron.
Because maybe people wouldn't understand that?
That was my exact assumption last week. All right, Ron.
Because it's not been brought up in any other form of media at all.
They sell them at goddamn Galaxy's Edge.
They've been in like Star Wars games for years, then talked about forever, and it's not like there's some, I don't know, series involving wolves that talks about them numerous times. Or a new video game that has them in it. Or an old video game that has them in it. We're really not versed enough in these things for us to just call them a holocron.
Part of it too, like, okay, going to like the fact that he gets another helmet. Why does he need another helmet?
Because he needs it to stay alive.
Sure. I guess I can't argue with that.
It's something to where it's helping him heal, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, because I know in the other leak they say that it's made of like Mandalorian armor.
Oh.
Yeah. Interesting that that's not mentioned here at all. All right. Meanwhile, on the frozen planet of Wavet, the French try to survive, and Chewie finds a broken off piece of the radar dish from the Falcon. They can get a transmission out for help.
That radar dish has seen all of those radar dish. Like, it's one of those things like you constantly replacing on a car.
It's the equivalent of the antenna.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like you have like a light bulb on a car that just keeps on going out. You're constantly replacing it. That is basically what the antenna is. And then you get a new different one. That one breaks off. And then you get another round one. That one doesn't work. And then this one just flew off randomly.
Well, it crash landed.
I'm assuming it flew off before then.
Some reckless action. Yes. Okay. Poe and Finn talk about their complicated admiration for Rey, which ties into their funny relationship as brothers. It's specifically mentioned non-romantically.
Okay, non-romantically towards Rey, non-romantically towards each other, or just non-romantically?
No,
okay.
No.
I'm like
romance.
I'm like, okay, what are we talking about here? Which is it towards Chewie? Is there a Porg around that they're really attracted to? I need to know.
That's funny. Angry, Rey beats up a piece of crashed spaceship when Force Ghost Luke appears to talk with her. Luke feels that he's losing her. She believes she's no one. So the last Jedi is dead. Rey believes that Kylo is drawn to the light, while Luke believes he can't be redeemed. Rey reveals that Leia asked her to end Kylo's pain. Luke gives her a lightsaber before he disappears. He says she won't be a Jedi until she faces Kylo.
So is this the boomerang lightsaber that was talked about in the bullet points earlier?
Maybe.
Okay. She has like a boomerang shaped one, which I'm like, I don't understand that, but cool, whatever.
I think what he meant by that, again, I don't know. There's a lot of this is up to Jason Ward's interpretation, combined with there's a lot of he seems very scattershot when he's describing things here. Think of Dark Side Rey's lightsaber from the Rise of Skywalker. You know how that thing like bends in a very particular way?
I like how it, like, she used it to clap closed on somebody else's lightsaber to hold it.
Well, that's the thing, though. You think about that lightsaber, the way she's able to swing it from being like parallel to having double-sided. If she stops that in a very specific angle, that could be hypothetically speaking, a boomerang lightsaber.
You are correct.
So maybe that's the weird thing, though. Is it all depends on like what people's like interpretation of this stuff is. Again, we're getting a lot of this is second and third hand, so it's hard to judge it objectively.
Couldn't Dooku's be like vaguely boomerang shaped because it's kind of curved?
Yeah,
is the hilt curved? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's like we're reading this from somebody who, like, as nerds, I feel we want more than this is giving us, and now we're irritated that it's not giving us the information we want.
Yeah, like I said, I would imagine this.
Maybe that's just me.
I think these scripts will show up online eventually. If they're so prevalent in certain corners of the fandom, they'll show up sooner or later. Maybe not in the next 6 months, but they'll show up soon.
And all of you will be signing petitions to get this made instead.
Oh no!
Just like those people that signed that petition to reshoot the last season of Game of Thrones. Yep.
Oh boy! All right, BB-8 has found a map in the Star Destroyer, proving the First Order knows where all the Resistance bases are. They're taking them out one by one. The Resistance needs to warn them, but the transmissions are jammed. Rey has a new goal at the midpoint. From the Jedi text, she learned of an ancient form of communication before the Old Republic, the Spire of Isis. A sacred
Assuming that was supposed to be Osis again, but...
Yeah, I know. A sacred chamber to prevent any Sith from using it. Only a Jedi may enter. Rey needs help, but she could maybe find the location of the Spire. Poe knows an astromancer who helps Jedi. She works with the Space Digger. Poe wants to fight and head to the capital to cut off the head of the beast with their arsenal. They split up. Rey, Poe, and Chewie will find the Spire, and Finn and Rose will go to Remnacor. Rey and Kylo have a Force connection talk. His face has healed. He feels his light. His calling for his mother when she died, and he feels Rey's darkness. Okay, we'll pause there and we'll come back to the rest of that. So his face healed?
I guess.
I thought he had to wear a mask because he was about to die.
So that's the thing. It keeps on fluctuating with that. And then he was also told that, to kill Rey, that's the only way he can become truly Sith.
But he sensed Leia's death, and he can sense Rey becoming darker. And he's becoming there's a lot of, again, I'm not judging the script here. I'm kind of judging who's writing this, because it just seems like we go from, okay,
there's important points that are missing somewhere along the way.
Well, I don't even know if it's important, but it's maybe just things aren't laid out as well as they should be initially. It's like I feel like this should, instead of being done in 100 bullet points, maybe just explain what each character is feeling from the beginning, and then by what's their character arc by the end of the film, and then you fill in the gaps with the plot points. Because it's okay, he wants to be evil. He goes somewhere where Luke tells him not to go. He goes in there, is mortally wounded. He's comforted by a group of people. He has to wear a mask that's even more horrific. And then he's healed. Now he's going to the light side. It's wait, did the mask do that? So the mask isn't evil? I feel like there's about 40 pages of script that were just kind of just excised.
Jumped over.
Yeah. Or condensed. Again, think about it. You're dealing with 100+ page script that's being condensed into 100 bullet points. Again, I understand things are going to be lost, but it's come on, we need a little bit more.
Well, that gets more confusing in 2 or 3 bullet points from here.
Oh yeah, boy does it. Because keep in mind, folks, we're roughly a third into this right now. I think I hinted at this last week a little bit. I'm going to delve into it more now. That Zeng, I don't think I told you this, but the Art of the Rise of Skywalker book got delayed until March.
Again? Did it get delayed again?
No, it's still March.
Okay. Because that was supposed to come out the same day as that other book.
Yes, the visual dictionary.
Yes.
But the strange thing that happened was, about a few days ago, the Art of book released in South Korea.
Random.
But here's the interesting part. In the entire book, which is 250 pages.
The art's all Korean?
No. Ha 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 ha. But there's not a single image of Palpatine in the entire book.
Wow, it's like they threw him in at the last moment for no apparent reason.
Or all the art from the book is based on these drafts. Because in the book, from screenshots I've seen on Twitter and other social media, there's a lot of art of Rey being evil. There's a lot of dark side Rey. There's a bunch of that sort of stuff. And the most provocative image, there's a shot of Rey holding Kylo Ren's lightsaber up to his neck. So I'm starting to think that maybe the initial plot for Episode 9, and whether that be Trevorrow's version or JJ's version, was that Rey was going to go further to the dark side, and Kylo's going to go more toward the light.
I can see that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to see if I can get some of these images too. I want to see them now.
Just go to Star Wars Reddit's leaks page. They're all over there. Poe and friends buy a new ship, the Phantom Hawk, from a bearded old man named Phobos, who gives it to them for free because he recognizes for free because he recognizes Rey, Poe, and Finn, and they all hug goodbye. Kylo meets with Hux and is angry that Rey is still alive. He almost kills Hux, as he wants Hux to tell the Knights the moment Rey is found. His life depends on it. Rey uses her force powers to help him.
So now it seems like he wants to kill Rey again.
Yeah, this is all over the place. Rey uses her force powers to help him get out of the docking array. Poe tells Rey to dial down her Jedi look, and she does. They get to Bonadon, where Poe used to live with his grandfather. Okay. A Phantom Hawk arrives in the capital, and Finn wears a disguise. R2 has a code.
We need to put in the obligatory. Sure.
The Phantom Hawk arrives in the capital, and Finn wears a disguise. R2 has a code that can help them get through to find the underground resistance army. They come across Dade, the kid from earlier. When they get there, it's empty and troopers attack them. They rush back to the ship as they fight. Now, here's the most interesting part of the script. Rey gets caught up in a drinking contest with aliens.
What? Yeah, I remember I saw that and I'm like, what?
Well, all this is going on. Rey's like, I am really thirsty. She's like, you know what could go? You know what would be really good right now? About
drinking contest.
20 shots. And Rey just goes nuts. Again, this feels like it's a lot. Like, you know what? That seems out of nowhere, but it's the obligatory. Every Star Wars film has to have a bar in it.
It does. Also, there's a really cool image of like a ton of Star Destroyers and a ton of the Resistance with Rey and Kylo facing off. I just found.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's a bunch of that stuff.
I really enjoy the fact I found like 2 images of Palpatine's throne. And I'm like, that's just stuff from Return of the Jedi. Like, they've straight up said that it's just stuff they've reused from McQuarrie.
Yeah, that's surprising.
What are they going to do when they run out of his stuff?
Lord help us all when they figure it out. All right. Finn fights with a trooper whose helmet comes off, and Finn questions him to remember his past before he was taken by the First Order. Finn tells him to get a name and find something worth fighting for. Poe and Rey get to a den and meet Nomi, a tiny alien who listens to Rey's wish to find a planet. Nomi says the Jedi will know the destination, and there the two will meet, the dark and the light. In the vision that Rey is having, she will sacrifice herself to Kylo to save the galaxy.
Yeah.
Very similarly to what happens in the Rise of Skywalker. They have to go to a little alien that tells them where to go, and Rey has to sacrifice herself to save the galaxy. Essentially, Nomi is Babu Frick, and saving the galaxy by Rey giving her own life is essentially what happens at the end, where Palpatine tells her, you gotta kill me to save your friends.
Okay, I'd like to put a pin real quick. No one is Babu Frick but Babu Frick.
No.
Let me make that clear first.
There's only one Babu Frick.
There's only one Babu Frick, and he deserves his own TV show on Disney+.
In the war room, Hux tells Solony Wren that Finn was seen at the Capitol. Kylo approaches and wants to know where Rey is, but Finn won't tell him. Finn jumps in the darkness to escape. So wait, Kylo now is on the Capitol planet?
Also, I do kind of like the idea of there being a female villain, but
if only we didn't kill Captain Phasma in the second.
Yeah,
film.
yeah. It's like it could have just been It could have just been Phasma.
I don't know. Again, Phasma still, I think, is wasted potential in Star Wars. Rey can sense that Finn and the others need help. Poe and Rey escape on a Londo cart through the city area. Then they sail away on a boat, met by the Knife 9 Knights of Friendship. A kid has a Rey doll, and Rey does a force push, whatever that means.
Just imagine the kid holds up the Rey doll and she force pushes him. Don't show it to them. Disney will get you.
Exactly, much like Baby Yoda Etsy toys. Rey finds the Knights of Ren with the Force, and Poe is hit in the arm. Just like in the Rise of Skywalker, he gets hit in the arm. Much like Zenger alluded to earlier, Rey shoots
Oh no,
Purple.
this is capitalized. Please,
I can't scream it. You go ahead and do it.
Rey shoots purple lightning from her fingertips, killing one of the Knights of Ren.
It's intense, folks. It is intense. I like that it's purple. Like, why does it have to be purple?
Well, that's the thing I said earlier when they're like, it was red lightning. I'm like, what? Is there a difference between the lightnings? Hold on, wait. Let me check YouTube real quick.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Poe and Chewie are taken aback by this.
Okay, hold on. We need to stop there. Are Poe and Chewie taken aback that she killed somebody or that she didn't kill all of them? Please comment below with your thoughts.
Oh my God, this thing is so goofy. Like, that's the sort of stuff that oh God. All right. This is the part that's I'd say is the genuinely strangest part in all this. Rey makes Poe leave with Chewie to go help the Resistance. In parenthetical, Finn and Rose. She kisses Poe to make him do this.
I really don't think they knew what to do with any of these characters.
Well, okay. This is the thing that's interesting. And I know I said this last week, but just to reiterate the point, that at the end of The Last Jedi, when you watch Poe and Rey meet, clearly something was being set up there. Daisy Ridley in that sequence, she's being told to smile. Like, she has the biggest
could smile
grin.
in this movie.
But
actually, she's not allowed to.
But think about that moment in the end of The Last Jedi, though, where like Poe comes up to her and he's like, "Hi, I'm Poe," and she's like, "Hi, I'm Rey." He's like, "I know who you are," and she has this big, like, just like schoolgirl grin. And I remember seeing that for the first time and being like, "Oh, they're gonna do a Poe Rey like thing," and obviously that went nowhere. And I wonder if that was something that Colin Trevorrow asked Rian Johnson to include. It's something to think about. I know I mentioned it, but just think on it, folks.
I think you might have something there with the whole, like, they were trying to set that. I mean, it's vague enough that, I mean, it can go either way. The whole them being into each other. But I'm really glad they didn't go that way with it. Yeah. Because I don't know. It's just love stories in Star Wars are not something I really put together. I mean, the best one we have is... I know you're going to argue with me on this, and I don't want to do this, but you know what? Whatever. The best love story we have in Star Wars is, of course, Han
Ben
and
Solo and Rey.
Han
yes,
and Leia.
I agree.
Because the other one, as I've said before, if you take two chairs and throw them into a room together, that's more intimacy than I saw in that entire couple's relationship the whole time. Oh, but sorry, there is one more couple I need to point out. The ever-present couple of Obi-Wan and the High Ground.
So wait, the chairs are... Who are the chairs?
The chairs are freaking Padme and Anakin.
Yes, that I agree.
Yeah, I'm not joking. Like, they have as much chemistry as just two chairs. Are the chairs stacked together? Or are they sitting on separate sides of the room?
But Zenger, I so deeply and madly in love with you. Ever since the first day you came back into my life. I wish I could just wish these feelings away. Now that is fantastic dialogue. I love it so much. Folks, if you don't sweet talk your lady or your romantic partner with those like sweet talking, words.
What? I'm gonna tell it to Ellie tonight, and I guarantee you I know her response. Did you get hit in the head?
I can imagine, like, after we're done recording this at like midnight, Zenger like goes up to Ellie. And it's like, sand is so coarse and it gets everywhere. And she's like, "Were you at the beach today?
Where is this coming from?"
Oh my God, yeah. It's the episode 2 romance is delightful. It's delightful in possibly the worst way possible, but it's oh God. The problem is that it's like charming in the same way that like Tommy Wiseau's character in The Room's romance to Lisa is.
It's tearing us all apart.
I did not hit her. I did not.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Obi-Wan. All right. Back on episode 9 leaks. Rey needs to stay to face Kylo and end this. She now goes full Jedi with the robes. She talks to Force Ghost Luke about her past, who she really is. Luke says she already knows as she ceased with anger. As she ceased with anger. He explains to the Knights of Ren are former students of his and that Kylo wanted to be Rey's teacher. Rey is mad because Kylo lied to her. Kylo knows he has to go to the Spire to meet with Rey and finish her. He can't let her reach the Spire. Finn is stuck in a sludge fighting a monster in the sewer when Dade comes to help him. The underground resistance army is pretty ragged. Chewie knows they need help, so he leads Poe to a cabaret club to meet with Lando. He gets them to a private lounge after telling Poe he flew with his mother. When Lando turns down the offer to help, Poe tells him that his mother was right about him.
Ooh.
Aw, snap. Aw, snap. But that's essentially what we got in The Rise of Skywalker until the very end, where Lando just shows up out of nowhere. And he's like, hey, guys, my bus was late. What did I miss? Leia's dead. Oh, crap.
Oh, no.
All right. Rose is being tortured by Hux in order to get the signature codes for the Dreadnought. Apparently, there's Dreadnoughts all of a sudden. She won't tell them, and Hux is ordered to kill her. So I'm just
trying to figure out, how is Hux torturing her? I'm going to do my stand-up routine. Oh, God, no.
He's telling her he's the spy. But I'm starting to think, the fact that he mentions Dreadnought codes, is it a possibility that this Eclipse Star Destroyer is just a Dreadnought? And they're just using that terminology to just get like nerds hot and bothered?
So it could be that, okay, if we want to maybe that they stole stuff from here, maybe that Dreadnought is the only thing that has the codes to, like, it's like the command ship for the other ships.
Maybe.
Even though the ships yeah. Like it's something to where, like, the fleet can move in, like, unison or something with the codes, and since they stole it, they destroyed the thing that has the codes, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I clearly you can tell. I think the idea of having a command ship clearly was also ported over into the Rise of Skywalker with the one First Order ship amongst all the Star Destroyers. All right. Rey flies in the Knife 9 Knights of Ren ship and has subliminal.
Rey flies in the Knife 9 and has subliminal flashbacks when she crashed the ship out of deep space, landing on Osis.
She made it to the Spire. Kylo also has a rough landing in the same place. Finn talks with Dade, who reveals there's 100 million rustics hiding out, but could fight, and that's what the First Order is afraid of. Finn inspires the room to rise up and resist. His arc is complete from when he was a trooper, then traitor.
I just like to imagine Kylo coming in, seeing her crash, and be like, dang, that was pretty bad, and then just slams into like a pole or something, takes off a wing and crashes.
They're both doing their Harrison Ford impersonations. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Oh, man. Speaking of which, I actually watched the first time Harrison Ford has ever done a voiceover role for a cartoon.
Oh, Secret Life of Pets?
Yes. It's basically, hey, Harrison Ford's like a dog. That's all I got to say on that.
All right. But going back to the Finn part, the idea of Finn leading like an uprising of a bunch of just like, that's cool.
Familiar?
Well,
no, it kind of takes the lead in the Rise of Skywalker.
He takes the lead though, but the idea of like Finn going from just being like somebody who was running away from the fight in Episode 7 to being somebody kind of just like didn't know which side he belonged on, and then in this, like, okay, I'm in charge now. I went from just some like stormtrooper that refused an order to now I am leading an army. That I like. That I would have preferred if Finn got a little bit more of a prominent position other than just let's shoot up the bridge of the Star Destroyer and try to kill ourselves. Like, it's like, I think we mentioned it in the Last Jedi discussions we had for the last couple of years, but it seems like anybody in the Resistance is just like suicide mission person. Everyone's just so willing to die immediately for the cause. It's like, there's ways around this. Not every single mission has to involve you dying, right?
I'm trying to think now in the original Star Wars how many times they had stuff like that happen.
I don't think ever. Like, I think there's some instances where it was like, okay, you're going into a fight and there's a very real possibility you will perish. But I don't know how many plans involved dying in order to accomplish them.
The Death Star run, that was a suicide mission. The fact of they were like, hey, you're probably going to die doing this, but, for a reason.
I think there's a difference, though, between
sorry, I got that mixed up.
I think there's a difference, though, between like a suicide mission and a mission with high odds of dying.
Yeah, I mean,
like the Holdo maneuver is a suicide mission. Finn and Jannah on the Star Destroyer blowing up the bridge. That is a suicide mission if it weren't for the fact that Lando's there.
Getting in a plane with Harrison Ford.
Never tell me the odds.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's also kind of prevalent in a lot of other media too right now for some odd reason. Going out on a mission I'll never come back from, and then you come back from it.
But like even at the end of the Rise of Skywalker, we see like that one Holdo maneuver above Endor. Like somebody had to die for that to happen. Like that's like was it really worth it? Like you could have just easily blown up the Star Destroyer. Like, think about it. We saw Bespin's Star Destroyer blow up. We saw the Jakku one blow up. Like, it's like somebody didn't need to die in order to destroy a Star Destroyer.
True.
Like, it feels like all those different resistance cells. It's like, okay, we're going to do a Holdo maneuver on this ship. I don't know. I think we can storm it and just plant some explosives. No, I'm going to do it. Do you want to die?
we outnumbered them 10-1. The odds are in our favor. Don't ever tell me the odds.
Crash straight through. All right. Okay. Finn was able to help Poe get in contact with Lieutenant Connix and others from the Dreadnought.
Ooh.
Billy Lord.
Oh, okay. I felt like that was somebody I actually knew, and I'm like, maybe.
I don't think Connix's name is ever said. I think she is solely a ancillary, like ancillary media like character in the sense of like being named by name.
Yep.
Poe tells him that they will fly with 100 pilots and Finn will have a ground game. Rey will get reinforcements once she gets the signal out from the Spire.
That doesn't sound familiar.
No. In the Ossus Woods, Rey makes her way to the Spire when she gets a flashback of her parents leaving her and telling her they will come back. This makes her angry. She slices a tree in half.
Does she just randomly get a flashback?
I guess.
Just walking and all of a sudden, flashback.
Kylo walks to the Spire as well and sees a house and goes inside to find Han Solo, who talks to him about how he has everything he needs with his family, telling him he can always go back and his mother loves him. Flashback of Han killed by Kylo. So more or less like we got in the film.
Wait.
Minus the house.
Oh, flashback of Han killed by Kylo. Okay.
Yes.
I was like, wait, did he kill the flashback of Han? Can you do that?
He impaled the flashback with his lightsaber.
Perfect.
Very meta, this film. At Remdakor, Finn leads a ragtag resistance attack with the Underground Army led by Dade. 3PO and R2-D2 help as well. The trooper Finn talked to earlier has joined them and has a name now. Rafe or Rafe. By the spot. Yeah, whatever.
Sure.
By the Spire, Kylo and Rey have a face-off. Rey knows he's in pain and alone. He knows she's mad about her life on Jakku and blames Kylo for killing her family, but he says it was Snoke. Rey pulls out her double saber. Kylo says that Rey was protected. So they have a face-off, and then she pulls out her lightsaber?
She was using the Force lightning. Or maybe it's a double-blade lightsaber that, like, it's a single blade and then you can connect it to make a double blade. So two blades.
Who knows at this point? Poe gives the next line command to Dade. Poe then goes to fight, in which Poe is instantly outnumbered. They need more pilots. Hux wants to send out undisciplined mercs to keep the peace. Solani Wren sees the holocron and gets the dark power, and it doesn't hurt her like it did with Kylo. I guess the lightning is dark power now, because we should mention that dark power is capitalized.
So I guess Wren still had like some good in him, and that's why it attacked him. Maybe. And since she doesn't, that's why she's able to get the dark power.
Sure. Finn inspired the Rustics, and they charged the First Order. So apparently, even though Finn rallied the rustics to fight, he was leading them as an army. Now they're fighting later. So Finn has two armies?
He has to keep rallying them.
I guess.
They're not a very... they have to be inspired a lot.
Okay, I got a good one for you, Zenger. Because Uncle Owen, this ragtag army has a bad motivator.
Perfect.
Oh God, this is goofy. I get it. A lot of this is the poor wording of it all, but this is goofy. Kylo believes that if he kills Rey, there will be no Jedi left. He will control the Force. As they fight, Rey cuts his face, and it's metallic underneath.
Okay. There's nothing else about that in here, and that was the most interesting thing. Also, there's another interesting thing of he will control the Force. I feel like that's an interesting plot beat of the less Force users, the stronger one can become with it, a la the one with Jet Li.
Oh my God! Now that's a reference. Okay. Oh my God, that'd be insane if Colin Trevorrow watched the one with Jet Li in 2001, just furiously scribbling I'm gonna make a Star Wars movie in 20 years where I make this a plot point.
I'm just saying. I mean, because that's what I kind of got out of this by reading that. I'm like, this sounds like the less people use the Force, the one person left becomes stronger with it.
I wouldn't be put it past them. That sounds like a Colin Madman Trevorrow idea.
But the metal underneath doesn't make any sense.
That I guess he they say they put metal on his face, but maybe it's I don't know.
But it's under his skin.
Yeah,
he's like a Terminator.
He's a cybernetic organism. He
has the emotional range of one.
Yeah. He smiles.
When he gets sliced in the face, just goes, "Ow."
The Capitol gets hit hard with resistance fire. The fact that they have a stolen dreadnought is key to their success. Chewie is in an X-wing with BB-8, and they crash land.
Random.
That's cool, though. It's an idea.
It is, and I'd love to see it, but I'm like, that is the most random thing in the world, too.
Not really. They need think about the Falcon is underwater.
Have you ever seen Chewie fly anything but the Falcon?
No, and that's why this is funny.
Okay, good. I just imagine he also doesn't fit properly. There's no top on it. It's just him sticking out a bit.
He has his goggles on from Solo.
Perfect.
Rose escapes somehow and reveals to Finn that the Capitol is a ship.
Oh, God.
BB-8 needs to stop the ship from going into hyperspace. So I guess it's kind of like what the droid control ships were in Attack of the Clones.
God, this is getting weirder as it goes.
Ren slashes Rey, and after he could have been her teacher. He knocks her down and leaves her for dead. Okay,
I'm assuming that should have been Ren slashes Rey, and after says he could have been her teacher.
Okay.
That's what I'm assuming, because it says should.
You know what the weirdest part about this article is that I get.
No one proofread it.
Well, clearly, but the weird thing is I get rushing a story to get it out in time so you can get some clicks to generate some ad revenue for your site. Got no problem with that. We all need to make money, but after I don't know a couple hours, if you have a free moment, why not just go through this and clean some of it up?
Well, because you're having to write your next story.
Sure, but he must have known that this would be a high traffic article, not just for a day. People will be until we get more information, which could be now, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year from now. People will constantly be coming back to this. So why not just and even if he doesn't want to do it, just ask one of the people who work for you just to clean it up.
I think Spellcheck would have even caught that.
I don't know. All right. Ren destroys the Jedi Temple when Ghost Luke shows up to reason with him. Rey starts to feel
Luke in this.
Yeah, why not? Ren destroys the Jedi Temple when Luke shows up. Okay, I already said that. Rey starts to feel something as Luke does a voiceover about how everyone's connected to the Force. So Rose and Poe feel something, and Finn can sense Rey a surge of hope. Rey comes back to fight Ren. He calls her no one. She disagrees. No one is no one. They keep fighting. In the ground fight, 3PO doesn't want to leave R2-D2 in battle. Connix is going to retreat as they are taking heavy fire, but they are saved by Lando and 1,000 ships. He
Sounds
came
familiar.
back. Yep, it sounds familiar. Rey has a chance to kill Kylo, but she doesn't. She tries to get Ben to come back. She forgives him. He has to make a choice, a different kind of balance. Solony Wren shows up and grabs Kylo. She's too powerful for Rey to fight off. Rey is beaten down, but when the stone debris is about to crush her, Kylo comes to save her. Rey takes half of her double saber and gives it to Kylo.
See, that's why I think it's something to where like it can be a double blade or two single bladed.
Sure.
Ones.
Well, I guess it's gonna be like the dark Rey, dark side Rey in the Rise of Skywalker, where it's like it just like it bends. I guess you can disconnect it.
I feel like there's another character that used something like that.
I guess Darth Maul, because his is just two lightsabers conjoined together.
No, but he's never taken it apart to where like they can do double. I feel like they're maybe Fallen Order. There's an option for that.
Maybe. Connix tells Poe to do something reckless. Poe gives. Yeah, I know, right?
Why does he have to be told to do something? I feel like it should have been, "Don't do this. It's too reckless."
I guess they're trying to play with the established tropes.
Okay.
Poe gives Finn a resistance flag when they are reunited, and Finn waves it. Big character beat. So I guess we don't know what the reckless thing is.
It's giving him the flag.
All right. Oh, this is the best one. The oiler crashes on the front steps of the barricade.
I feel like that was for something else he was writing, and it just got left in.
You could take that out. What? What's the oiler? Where's the barricade? There's steps?
I feel like he was writing for that upcoming movie about the Exxon Valdez. Yeah, deep cut references today, people.
Solony Wren is about to kill Rey, but Wren takes the hit and dies. Then Rey kills Solony in a rage of necessary darkness. Solony falls dead. As he's dying, Kylo Ren says that Rey's name is Solana. Rey Solana.
What does that mean?
Does
it matter? Is it a thing? Who knows?
But like my question is there any sort of lineage between Solani and Solana?
Yeah.
Almost dead, Rey knows she has to climb the Jedi spire. Clawing her way up, she enters the Force-based transmissions tower. A lot of stuff is moving around Rey with kyber crystals. She sends her message out to the galaxy with Rey as a projection saying her full name, Rey Solana, telling everyone that hope is not lost.
Once again, it feels like that means something.
Yeah. Bosk is at a den when he sees the projection and wants to join. I like that Bosk is just bored. He's like, yeah, sure. Hux learned that they don't have the ships to attack the capital because they are tied up elsewhere, since Rey sent out the message. They are outnumbered 3-1. Rose is able to escape the capital before she crashes into the sun. What? I feel like Rose has the most out there, like out of nowhere. She's telling Poe to. No, that was Connix. Like, what is Rose doing this? Like, she escapes from being tortured. She's trying to blow up the shipyards.
Then she's crashing the capital into the sun.
Something's being crashed into a sun. It's best not to ask. Finn can tell Rey is alive. Luke tells Rey that she is a Jedi, but not the last. He will never leave her. Life returns to her. Rey glows and wonders aloud if she's dead, but Yoda tells her there is no death with Jedi. But Rey is not finished. At a ceremony, Chewie gets a special medal. The friends wonder if Rey is really gone. So wait, how'd they win the battle?
They crashed it into the sun.
Something got crashed into the sun and they won.
Hux's ego.
Chancellor Hux's ego.
That was the
is
name
Hux
of the
alive?
ship.
Is Hux even alive still?
No, I think he died. I'm assuming.
Doesn't say he's dead. Doesn't say that he's dead.
You know what? I'm reading between the lines here. He dead.
Sure. Lando has a moment with 3PO and R2-D2 about coming back to life, and Lando is touched to see a flood of memories that they had. So who came back to life?
R2-D2, I guess.
Lando?
Sure.
This is so incoherent. Like, I'm not even mad anymore. In all honesty, like, if this was an actual film, I'd be kind of happy with this. Like, if this was actually, like, I know it's not. I know this is just
Filmed
like
exactly the way it's written.
Okay. I want to make a point. Okay, Zenger, please remind me once we're finished with this, which we only have maybe like 5 or 6 bullet points to go. But there's something I have an idea that I think we need to spend. If we do we have to create a Patreon or a Kickstarter for this, but I'll wait till the end. But remind me.
All right.
Finn reads a story to the young kids, and they ask if they really think Rey is gone. Finn believes she's alive because of the Force. Poe and Chewie are flying, and they find a beacon on a planet. Rey is on the Wave It planet, pulling the Falcon out of the icy water. Last shot is Rey returning to the Jedi School to teach young kids.
What?
So Rey went from being on the Spire on Ossus to then randomly appearing on the ocean planet again, lifting the Falcon out of the water. But once somehow she got there, but once she's there, she needs help. So she calls Chewie and Poe, and like, is there romance between Poe and Rey? Like, it's like, what is going on?
Help.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, again, I don't want to blame Colin, Madman, Trevorrow, because, again, I've said it a dozen times now, like, there's so much just befuddled language here. But at the same time, though, like, even like in like broad strokes, this doesn't really feel satisfying as like a final film. It feels more just like another like Star Wars story. It reads like, I don't know about you, Zenger, this feels like glorified fan fiction.
It does, because as much as people might complain about Rise, I mean, this has some interesting stuff in it, but I feel like the final product we got, but with Rise, was better. So I think we're kind of interpreting stuff.
I think everything that we like find amusing about this, it like stems from a place of morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, none of this seems like, it's like, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody would want to see this is like, oh, I can't wait to see this as the final product. It'd be like, oh, this is interesting, as like a weird, like, what if story in like the world of Star Wars if things went very differently.
I can agree with that.
The point I just wanted to bring up was, I forget what it was. I remember hearing about this some time ago, that there used to be, it could very well still exist, I don't know. But there was a company, I think it was like a porn production company that
this is going places.
Well, hold on a sec. You could send them a script and they would reenact they would act out whatever story you told them to do for a fee. So I would like to send them this and have them act out this version of Star Wars Episode 9.
My God.
That's what I want to see. Like, there's nothing sexual. I just want to straight up see this in live action. Perform, like, the only stage direction, the only script is what you have in these, 95 bullet points.
Dibs on, you know what? What's Tommy Wiseau doing?
Tommy Wiseau's Star Wars Episode 9, written by Colin Trevorrow.
It's perfect. I mean, I can see elements that carried over, but I can also be like, I don't know where they were trying to go with any of this.
The problem, though, is like, a lot of this also feels like fan fiction. It just feels like obviously we didn't get this, so clearly the powers that be at Lucasfilm and Disney were like, no. And plus, the rumor has always been that, like, after Carrie Fisher passed away, Disney ordered like a page 1 rewrite on Colin Trevorrow's Episode 9. And I've always heard that he struggled with that. He could never get over that like hill of having to completely retool his story after spending so many years working on his earlier iterations of it.
And this is something that John Justice brought up, is that the problem with Star Wars is one person needs to take the reins and be the driving force, like Lucas. And that's why we're having all these like creative differences, all this stuff going on. It's because it's too disjointed, and I agree with him on that. But Star Wars at times is too disjointed. I mean, this whole thing we just read is the most disjointed thing.
But the weird thing about this, though, is like, why even have the character Solani Wren?
It's never explained who it is.
That's what I mean. But like,
there's someone who's a Force user, it seems.
Well, yeah, like they're apparently a Knight of Ren. And where are they? Did they even die?
Rey kills her.
I thought she kills Solani, and that's it. She kills what? One other one with purple lightning?
Oh, the knights themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like it says that she kills one with the purple lightning,
and then Chewie and Poe are taking it back, and we don't know if that's from her only killing one of them or from the fact that she killed one of them.
Or killing with purple lightning. So like if she used blue lightning, it would have been like, okay, this is pretty cool, but purple, But like even too, at one point at the end, like during the battle with Solani Wren, like it says like, oh, Rey is only able to defeat her while embracing like necessary rage. And it's like that's a pretty big thing. The fact that like our heroine has to do that to win.
Well, it seems like there's a ton of stuff being set up for like, why is she, what's this darkness in her? And it's just kind of like that doesn't get resolved. Like just Luke and Yoda are like, you're good.
But the weird thing too is that like there is like fan service here, like in the form of like the Kuat shipyards, the Eclipse Star Destroyer. But we really don't see anything else that's like really fan servicey. Like we don't get like anything that you would expect from Disney in like current, like what people expect from like movies of this caliber. I don't know, but like you expect, considering that this draft apparently came later than the previous one, it's the idea like you expect like more like fan servicey stuff, like blatant, like again, Zenger, like 99% of Star Wars fans, not Star Wars fans, 99% of people who go see these movies would have no idea what the Kuat shipyards are.
True. I mean, I have to kind of think every now and then about stuff like that.
That's what I mean. So like something like that is like so niche, even for hardcore fans. Like that's the thing that makes it so weird. Like it comes across as just like somebody wanting to do something different, but just not knowing how to do that effectively.
I can say that.
And even like you said, there's some really novel ideas here, but it feels like again, it feels more like a book. Like if somebody said like, oh, there's a book that takes place between episodes 8 and 9, and this is like a plot.
You know what? I agree with you. I can definitely see this being more of a book that took place just to give it, I guess, more breathing room.
Yeah, I could see this almost being like, I could see them maybe in a couple years adapting this script into like a new form of like Shadows of the Empire, where it's like, oh, between episodes 8 and 9, Kylo Ren sends off his new like apprentice Solani Wren to confront Rey. And Rey, like in a fit of rage, defeats her, and it concerns everybody.
And that would still work with all the content. I mean, everything going on anyway.
That's what I mean. Like, it seems like something like, oh, at one point, like the Resistance steals like a First Order like Star Destroyer, and Poe crashes it.
That sounds like something Poe would do.
And Finn tries to like lead a ragtag group of like people on a planet, and like it fails. Something like that. Like I could see them like tweaking this and it showing up as like a comic book or a book. Because I could never see them doing anything else with this besides those two things.
I think Star Wars is going to become very interesting over the next few years with stuff like this.
My question though, considering like all like Star Wars media is planned out like months, years in advance. Considering that we have at least 3 years until the next Star Wars movie, I think it's gonna be longer. I wouldn't be surprised if they push Star Wars back until like 2025. Is there gonna be like a huge push in like other media? Like, do you think we're gonna get like a lot more books? Like I think we've mentioned it. Like Star Wars Resistance ends like in a couple months. Are we gonna get like a new cartoon series, or I'm sorry, animated series that's gonna be revolving around like Luke's Jedi Temple days, or the adventures of like Rey, like Finn and Poe between episodes 8 and 9?
I think we need to start relying on that to get content. I think that's where some of the best content's gonna come from for the foreseeable future, is from like smaller projects, smaller stuff like books, comics, and of course the shows. I think that they need to take a step back from the movies for a while. Because then, of course, when they bring it back, it will be a big thing. But
well, like, okay, there was an article from Scott Mendelson of Forbes, who's now like the universal punching bag for people who are happy with Star Wars right now. And he had, and I know everybody's mad at Scott Mendelson because he keeps calling The Rise of Skywalker a financial disappointment. And I 100% agree with that assessment. It is.
Hey, on a positive note, it's not Doolittle.
You want to know a really fun fact about Doolittle?
It sucks.
Yes, but apparently there's a sequence in there where there's a dragon, and the dragon tells Robert Downey Jr., the reason why I'm so like cranky is that I swallowed a knight in shining armor whole, and now I'm constipated because the armor is stuck in my butt. And can you help me get it out? So Robert Downey Jr. goes in the dragon's butt and pulls out the thing, and then the dragon lets out a giant fart in his face. That's a scene in the movie. Zenger, do you want to guess how much that movie cost to make?
I don't even want to know.
It's more money than you and I can even comprehend.
I just want to have that on demand. So if I ever pitch a movie, pitch anything, I'll be like, this happened.
Pitchman Zenger's there and just starts laughing. He's like, see, oh, right, guys, I'm out. Even Pitchman Zenger's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Nope.
He's like, wait, you're going to do what now? Oh, you got to have some good ideas for that. Nope. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out.
But no, going back to The Rise of Skywalker, is that like Scott Mendelson had a very, I think, astute observation about Star Wars going forward. Is that like it feels like now that the sequel trilogy is over and there's no movies on the horizon. There's nothing in like official pre-production. It feels like Star Wars is in the exact same place it was in like right after Revenge of the Sith. It feels so aimless.
Okay.
Right? Like it like I feel like the same way I felt in like May of 2006. Like when it came to Star Wars. Like yes, like we have Resistance, we have Clone Wars, but like Clone Wars is like lame duck. It's all stuff that they had been working on like years ago. They're just kind of finishing up. They're not producing anything new. They're just finishing what they started. And we have Resistance coming to an end. And yes, we are going to get announcements in the coming like months. But it just feels like Star Wars is right back in another one of those time periods that every fan has been in before. Whether it be the people like in 1985, where like, okay, the action figure like line is like dead. And then it's the same thing that happened like in 2006, where it's like, okay, I guess Star Wars like as a big thing is over for right now. Like it just feels that way. And then not to say I do think Star Wars needs to take a break. I'm not saying that like it should be the Marvel thing where we get 17 movies a year, but it just feels like Star Wars ended, or at least this particular era of Star Wars ended on a whimper. Like whereas like even though people weren't thrilled with Return of the Jedi in 1983, I think there was kind of, even though I wasn't alive then, it was the idea that like, okay, at least like, okay, the bad guys lost, the good guys win, all's well that ends well, yub nub, dun dun. Like there's that. And then like Revenge of the Sith is over and the prequels are done, and say what you will about those films, but Revenge of the Sith does a fantastic job of perfectly clicking into A New Hope. And then we have the end of The Rise of Skywalker, and I think Zenger said it, I'm going to say it now, I still love the film, but it just kind of feels like, okay, it's like, so what's going to happen now? It doesn't have that sort of like satisfying conclusion. It feels more bittersweet than it should. Like, where does Star Wars go from here? Like, you know, I know we probably could do an entire month on that as a concept, but like, where does Star Wars go from here? Episode 10 is like at least a decade plus away.
I mean, unless they get really desperate.
I don't think episode 10's the answer because it's too soon. You have to let the kids, like your daughter Zenger, more your middle daughter's ages. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that have to start having like their own discretionary income. before they revive Rey, Poe, and Finn. They can't. They have to wait for much like how by the time the sequel trilogy was started, I was an adult with discretionary income. They have to wait and let the generation that grew up with these films age appropriately. Then they'll go back to them. Even with that being said, it's like even this whole idea of the High Republic. I don't see how that's exciting. Like, sure, it's a Star Wars film. I'm going to be there. Like, I will always be there opening night. But I don't think it's a type of thing that's going to sit there and get people excited.
It's got me lukewarm.
Exactly. And we're two people talking about a Star Wars, what's the word? Alternate reality script on a Sunday night. That's the weird thing about Star Wars right now. Is like, I don't want to say the future feels bleak, but Disney hasn't given me anything that makes me say, wow. Like, coming out of Revenge of the Sith in 2005, it was like,
you
wow.
don't have any hope. Oh, man. There.
You come out of Revenge of the Sith, and even though that film is a very, very, like, dour ending, because it has to be, you do feel, like, pumped up after seeing, like, the Anakin Obi-Wan duel. Like, think about it. Like, every Star Wars fan always knew, like, that had to happen. Like, I think Lucas always said, like, even in interviews back in the 80s, like, people would ask him, being like, oh, so how did Darth Vader become Darth Vader? And he's like, well, he got burned by lava, and he had to wear a suit to survive. And it's like, well, how did he get, like, burnt by lava? Obi-Wan and him fought once. And, like, that, and so it's like, okay, you have, like, 20 years of hype built into one action sequence. And say what you will about, again, Revenge of the Sith, but that duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin does not disappoint. It packs the punch it has to. And we didn't really get that in the Rise of Skywalker. Like, as much as I like the idea of Rey, what's it, dual, oh God, what would you say it? Double-handing the lightsabers back at Palpy. I like that, but it's like, that's not really as grandiose and epic as one would expect after upping the ante for 40 years when it comes to Star Wars films. Like, in all honesty, like, if you were to rank Star Wars climaxes, like, objectively, I'm not saying matter of preference, but like just a sheer thing of just like, oh God, on many factors, on multiple like metric levels, or I'm sorry, on multiple metrics, it's like, it feels almost as like boring as the Attack of the Clones climax of like Anakin, Obi-Wan versus Dooku. Like, it's cool in the moment when you're watching it, but I don't know how that sequence is going to play out when I'm watching it on my like 40-inch TV in a couple of years. It doesn't, I don't know. There's something weirdly hollow about the Rise of Skywalker. Like, now that the film is starting to settle in for me, it just feels like this wasn't the way to end Star Wars for at least a couple years.
It seems like there's a whole nother plot going on, or so. I do agree with you that I feel like there's a void in that movie.
Yeah, and yes, like I still think the film was meddled a lot in multiple layers of its production. I don't think a J.J. Abrams cut exists, because I don't think he's the type of filmmaker to have a very specific vision. I think his vision's always evolving, so there's never one specific thing that was designed from the get-go that somebody ruined. But I don't know, it just feels odd. The fact that JJ was so defensive, or what's the word? He was so lackadaisical, like right out of the gate. Like, the film's barely out for 24 hours, and people are like, so what do you think about all the criticism? He's like, whatever they want to think, it's fine. And it's like, that's weird to not defend your film, like, as soon as it's released. I don't know. Like,
maybe they put something in his contract. You either must defend it wholeheartedly or not give a crap.
Yeah, but it's odd.
He's like, okay, I know what I'm doing.
I think of all the directors in Hollywood that are being like interviewed, like after their film, like kind of gets like a mixed reaction. It's rare for them to be like, I think about it. And I get it. He's trying to be like witty and clever, but the idea like, oh, because the naysayers are right. And he knew that was going to become a head. The moment he said that, he must have known that was going to become a headline, and he wouldn't have said that otherwise. Like, I don't know. Like, again, I still love the Rise of Skywalker, but it's just something about it that just there's something odd about it.
That isn't sitting right with you.
Yeah, and not because like I dislike it. Like, again, as somebody who hosted an entire podcast about cinematic oddities, it's the notion of just because something's goofy and clunky doesn't mean you can't love it. But at the same time, if it's clunky and just jarring, you can't claim it's objectively perfect.
True.
And that's kind of the weird catch-22 with Star Wars, is that maybe it's like the fan base grows older. We have to come to terms with the idea that not everything can be black and white.
Mm.
And maybe this is the film to finally kind of show us all that like Star Wars can be clunky yet be enjoyable.
I feel like there was a question mark on the end of that sentence.
Well, it's true. I don't have an answer. I'm just some guy on the internet that likes to talk about Star Wars.
As am I.
All right,
My
Zenger,
opinion on this is the script was really weird. And I would like to have seen some of it. If there's any way I can get pieces of this that were actually filmed or used, then they changed it, I would love to see that.
Zenger, many months ago, I once said I would chop my left arm for the Colin Madman Trevorrow script. After reading this like horribly butchered outline, would you say I'm wrong in making that initial comment?
I hope you're not left-handed.
But come on, this script is like, can you imagine how insane this must be to actually read the script? Like, we're not even getting any dialogue.
Yeah, it's just plot points and plot beats.
And apparently,
even that's vague.
And apparently, on top of the script that Rob and I covered last week, and beyond just this, there's another script out there that wasn't written by Trevorrow, and that's the one where like Rey knew Ben Solo as a kid because Rey's mother was like a house cleaner, and they both grew up together.
Okay, Are
you gonna tap out?
I'm tapping out on that one.
Yeah, it's and plus apparently we never even got on top of these three scripts. There's still the idea of the hand touching pregnancy. That
I was wondering where that one was, and then the Mortis one too.
There's the Mortis one. Yep, I think that's the previous one. That's the one Rob and I talked about last week.
Okay.
But still, it's like, this is like, and I get it. Even when you go through those J.W. Rinsler original trilogy, like coffee table books, I know there's a lot of like evolution in the scripts from like A New Hope, Empire, Jedi. Like, I'm not saying it's unusual that this film went through so many iterations. I just find it fascinating that like with most Star Wars scripts, they usually start from like A and they evolve into like, okay, they do different. Like, you can tell where they came from that initial like germ of an idea. And with this, it seems like every script kind of like rewrote the rules of the film, and they pulled certain elements they just found interesting.
Speaking of stuff I found interesting, I want to point this out since we're kind of wrapping up. Apparently, the rumor going around that Matt Smith's character was supposed to be just the young Palpatine. That's apparently who he was supposed to play. But it doesn't make sense if that whole storyline, like Palpy being a part of this, wasn't something that had been, because there's the Mortis thing. I don't know. I mean, I could vaguely see him as a young Palpatine. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know if you had seen that or heard that.
I had read that Matt Smith is supposed to play like the son of Mortis.
Like I said, I've seen things, and not to mention, but a certain person on YouTube has that as an image for his episode discussing how Palpatine became a Sith in his childhood.
Is that where you got that from?
No, I've seen it on there, but I got it from there's another article I read that had it in there too. I just happened to be Xing out of a few windows I had opened and stumbled across that image, and it clicked in my head of like, oh wait, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can. But once again, Star Wars isn't big on flashbacks.
Yeah, but I think that's changing now.
That would have to be flashing back to him as like substantially younger, like prequels younger.
Sure.
And what would that have to do with anything?
I guess it's anyone's guess.
What? He's sitting there, he's like, I will clone myself.
Yeah, it could be a young clone, because we do know that the Dark Empire comic series was an inspiration for some of this.
Yeah.
So it's possible. Like I clearly who knows about the entire arc of the sequel trilogy, but it seems like this film was the most rudderless of the sequel trilogy.
So rudderless that Disney reveals how Kylo Ren was supposed to duel Darth Vader in the original Episode 9 script. What's the original Episode 9 script? Because as we've just gone over, there's 3 of them we're just talking about right now?
Yep.
And none of those had that?
Yeah, they did. The one that we did last week does.
See, this is why when you cut Zenger out of an episode, he's going to make a ton of comments that retroactively make him look like a jackass.
No, it's not your fault. It's my fault, Zenger.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said,
the same boat.
We're all in the same boat. We're in the Millennium Falcon pose. It sinks underwater because Ray left the porthole open.
That's how it happened.
Ray, don't open the cockpit.
Oh, wait, no, he does have a video on here. Young Palpatine scene reportedly deleted, and it shows Matt Smith.
God, YouTube is a mess. I wish
this channel's a mess.
YouTube is a mess.
That too.
All right. So concludes this episode of the Knights of Vader, a Star Wars podcast. Check out our Facebook group. Type in Knights of Vader into Facebook, and you will find us there waiting for you. Look for us on Instagram at KOV Podcast. Shoot us an email, kovpodcast@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, please rate, review, subscribe to us on iTunes or whatever podcasting platform you're currently listening to us on. Thank you to An Insperiority Complex for providing our theme song. Check out the show notes to hear more from them. Interested in a Knights of Vader t-shirt? For $22, you too can rep your favorite third-rate Star Wars podcast. Click a link in the show notes and you will find all the details on owning a shirt of your own.
They're very nice.
Yes, Zenger has one and can attest to the quality. Mm-hmm. For questions, comments, concerns, or snide remarks, contact me, Zach, on Twitter, at Cinemoddities. You can also find me on the Cinemoddities podcast, where Rob and I will be celebrating the centennial episode of Cinemoddities, where we discuss 2018's The Mortal Engines, everyone's favorite film starring Hester Shaw.
Isn't that movie where it's just a ton of cities rolling around?
Yes. Traction cities.
And battling each other?
Yup. And there's a wall. And Hugo Weaving wants to destroy the wall.
Oh, man. Of course Hugo Weaving's in this. Who was I kidding?
Hugo Weaving as literally every character you've ever seen him play as before.
Oh, perfect. So does he need the codes to get into... I was about to say Alderaan. I'm like, no, that's not it. Does he need the codes to get into Zion?
No, he needs the codes to Medusa, which will blow up the wall that will get him into a city.
Okay.
So yes.
Perfect.
All right, Zenger. So when you're not being put in a horrible position to be made look like a jackass, what are you up to?
I mean, that's my normal position in life. But anyways, you can, of course, find me talking about nerdy topics every week over on the ZengThis podcast. And on top of that, I would like to point out to the faithful listeners of Knights of Vader, you should also check out the ZengThis Twitch channel, which I will eventually, hopefully, be doing some playthrough of Battlefront 2, the story mode, because I never have played it on the Xbox, and since someone forced me to get it on the Xbox, I figured it would be fun to go back through it since I've already played it and discuss how the plot works, stuff like that, whether any of this matters now in this day and age, because I feel like there's some plot points in there that got left far, far behind now with everything that's happened in Star Wars. Because that came out, 2016?
17.
Okay. Still a little ways back, so I'm sure that there's stuff in there that maybe digging through that might reveal some stuff to us.
Yep. And apparently there's rumors going around that Iden Versio might be in The Mandalorian Season 2, so...
Oh, yeah, she would be.
Good old Janina... Oh, gosh, what was her name? Janina...
Garoppolo?
No, that's not right, but sure, let's go with it.
You can give wrong names when I do it, and it's a thing.
No, it's not just a wrong name. It's a wrong person.
Perfect.
Alrighty, everybody. Good night, but not goodbye. And as always, would you do the honor, Zenger?
Remember Alderaan, down with the Empire.
Thank you, Zenger.
You don't need a soundboard when you got me.